This is Susan Jacobs reporting live from Cohen Hillel Academy, where students today are going to hear from Dr. Terrence Roberts, who will talk about integration in Little Rock. As one of the Little Rock Nine, he changed the course of American history.
History is important. In fact, all of you are history makers. Now, I tell you, had I been able to set things up, Little Rock would have been very different. But when I came, there were laws in place and rules and regulations that basically said, Terry Roberts, boy, there's something wrong with you. You have entered our society clothed in black skin, and that is a real problem for us. We don't like it. And you better watch out. We'll kill you.
The Little Rock Nine forced the issue of school desegregation by insisting on attending an all-white school rather than the inferior black one.
I got involved because I was 10th grade at the time, going into my 11th grade year, so I signed up. The night before school was to start, there were actually 10 of us. We would have been the Little Rock 10. But the father of one of the young girls received a telephone call from his employer. And you know the message. If you send your daughter up to that school, don't bother coming back to work. So he pulled her out. Guess what? He lost his job anyway. It took the actions of the President of the United States of America, Dwight Eisenhower, to send in members of the 101st Airborne Division, famous fighting group, to come in and escort us to school. And without the Army, we would have been killed. There's no doubt about it. These folk were out for blood. And they tried many times to kill us. But, you know, I don't understand how we escaped. I think certainly there must have been providential involvement in this thing. There's no way on earth that I can figure it out from a human perspective how we survived, but we did.
Cohen Hillel Academy and Kipp students asked a lot of questions.
Did they treat you differently?
They did. You see, you have to understand, these teachers had not been imported from Marblehead. These were teachers who had been born and raised in Little Rock in that era of that mindset. They were not happy to see us. There were, fortunately, as is always the case in any group, some people who were supportive. I.e., you can never color the whole group with the same brush. Never, ever. Not every single white person in Little Rock was my enemy. Not every single black person was my friend. I mean, there are many who will argue for that reality, but that's not true. So, we had this continuum of teachers, a few of whom supported us, a few of whom hated us with a vile passion, and everything in between. But I was there not so much for the better education or because I knew about the historical importance, but mainly because it was the right thing to do. Absolutely. And for me, and it may be different from others, but I believe in the rule of law. And the law had changed. That was so, I could see that, writ large. The law is now in my favor. Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'm with Karen Medorsky at Cohen Hillel Academy. Now, as I understand it, you were one of the people that organized this?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how you put this together.
Well, we've been part of a Facing History program. We received a grant from Facing History, who in turn received a grant from the Jim Joseph Foundation to work for 3 years with Facing History, developing programming. And part of our programming has been a segment that we have done with Kipp Academy. This is our second year of doing it, and we're going to continue next year. So one of the things that when Dr. Roberts became available, that he was coming to the Boston area, Facing History asked us would we like to entertain him here, and we decided that we would love to have the opportunity, and we invited Kipp Academy to come as well.
What would you say to the Jewish kids who might say, oh, this has nothing to do with me, this was about black kids in Little Rock 50 years ago, it doesn't relate to me?
Well, I think if there's anything that we learn in Facing History and ourselves is that we have to face ourselves, we have to face our prejudices, we have to be aware that if people are prejudiced against any one group, it affects all of us.
Okay.
it's rare that we get to meet somebody who made history, and they're very aware of how brave the Little Rock Nine were. They were, children, their age, and yet, they confronted this hostile situation for a full year in order to achieve something, so much greater than they.